We are going to try this again, everyone. Good morning. Hopefully you can jump from the other that just ended to this one. It's not even Mercury in retrograde, but my whole screen was going haywire. So welcome to Coffee with Tina, where we come together and talk about all things narcissistic abuse, family court, co-parenting with toxic people. I'm not an attorney. I cannot. Good morning, advocacy for victims. Glad you found me on this one. I'm not an attorney. I cannot give legal advice. We are very much a community of survivors who come together and bring our collective wisdom and join forces, because there is power in that. So anything you take away from our time together, make sure you run it past your attorney. Good morning, everyone. I see the comments now. We are almost at Family Court Awareness Month, and I am blown away by everything that has transpired. Just yesterday, and I don't know if I can say her name. I want to give, so much of this is difficult because I feel like I get the credit for it when I'm really, I'm doing a lot of work, but the people who are boots on the ground, going out and getting these proclamations, these resolutions, they are the ones. I'm glad you found us, Gigi. Yeah, I know. I was having technical difficulties, so I'm here now. I was saying, there's a part of me that, I'm the one that seems to get the credit for what we're doing with Family Court Awareness Month, and so it's really important to me to pause and express my absolute gratitude. I could not have done this without all of you out there who are working to get these proclamations, resolutions, and I'm struggling because there's so many people I'm working with and it's hard to keep track. There are some people who need to stay very, very private, so I don't want to publicly credit them for the work they're doing. But just yesterday, I got an email from a mom who was sitting in her car in tears because she had appealed to the governor of Illinois, and Illinois has declared from here on out every November is Family Court Awareness Month. And I was born in Illinois. My life started in the Illinois family court system at 6 months old. And so that one felt so personal, personal victory for me, because as broken as it was, almost 50 years ago, it's worse now than it was back then. And so yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, and I appreciate and I'm grateful for all of your help in making it happen. I have my name tag from Gigi, my Family Court Awareness Month name tag, and my stickers, and there's lots of merchandise available on the One Mom's Battle website. If you go to shop, there's sweatshirts. I'm waiting for mine. It should be here any day. There's sweatshirts, there's t-shirts, there's coffee mugs. I had one somewhere. One of them says, "I just want peace." And then in really small letters, it says #Family Court Awareness Month. And so, we need to all show our support. Gigi made these stickers, and so putting them on your car, putting them wherever, we need to raise awareness. And here's where, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but for so many years, all of us, we've been yelling, shouting from the rooftops, and it's just going right over the heads of most people, because unless you've personally experienced the family court system, you have no idea what is truly happening. And so, a lot of us have been just preaching to other survivors who already get it, and other advocates who are doing amazing work. But right now, what we're doing with Family Court Awareness Month is bringing it down to a community level. And I can tell you that I'm at a loss for words. The city council meetings that I've been attending virtually all over the country. I mean, I've been bouncing. I have East Coast at, one time, and then West Coast, and I was in Washington, and um, they are so receptive to our message, and most of them, it's mind-blowing. They're like, wait, what? The courts aren't prioritizing children? The courts aren't using the research that's available? And what do you mean the courts aren't trauma informed? And what do you mean that the judges can sit on the bench without having any training on domestic violence? So we're bringing it down to a community level, and by empowering survivors to reach out to their local elected officials and put this on the map, it is truly, truly powerful. And I've had people say, oh my gosh, I just got this proclamation. This is one of the best days of my life. I feel heard. And so I'm just grateful to everybody who has participated and helped with our initiative to get this happening. I do want to plug a really important event. If it's not on your calendar, this is part of Family Court Awareness Month, and it's the UCI Initiative to End Family Violence. They have partnered with California Protective Parents Association. It is next Friday, a week from today, on November 5th. It's only $20. I'm going to actually buy 10 tickets and raffle them off on the One Mom's Battle Facebook page and Instagram account. But the lineup that I printed it out this morning. The agenda that they've created for this is phenomenal. We have Professor Joan Meyer, Grant Wyeth, Jennifer Frade, Ana Estevez, Lee, all kinds of protective parents whose children have been failed either by the whole alienation scam movement, or their children were failed in the ultimate way and their lives were lost as a result of family court failures. I'm actually going to be one of the speakers. And we also have Senator Dave Min, who recently passed SB 654. There's a whole panel of elected officials, and the panel is going to be called Enacting Justice in Family Courts Through Our Laws. That's going to be a really important one for those who want to get involved. I have the link. I just posted the link on the comments. So get your tickets and join us. Also, let's see, who else? There's going to be a panel of child survivors who have now aged out of the system. There's going to be a couple of them speaking. And Jane Stover, who is married to Senator Dave Min and from UCI. Powerful, powerful lineup. And mark off your whole day if you can, and you can pop in and out because it's virtual and no one will know, and you can show up in your pajamas if you want to. Hello, everyone. I'm seeing all the comments. So anyway, get involved and sign up for those. Let's see, what else? Let's jump right into the questions this morning. Ontario, there's 2 people from Ontario here. Good morning. We actually got a proclamation. Was it Toronto? We got a proclamation out of Canada. So, and that's the goal. Next year, we want to start expanding this to an international level. And that's why we didn't call it National Family Court Awareness Month. We're probably going to end up relabeling it international. We started small building blocks, and now we're going to build up. So question number 1, how can you protect your kids from the emotional abuse, knowing that he's going to get 50-50? That reality that for most of us, we are in a very 50-50 system. And so, part of that becomes radical acceptance, but also I don't believe that anything in family court is permanent and forever. So, for so many, that is a starting point, but I don't believe that's the final destination. And, I'm kind of going sideways from the question, but I do think it's an important um, idea for people to grasp. We have to keep hope. And the reality is, a lot of times, once the ink dries on the settlement agreement, the divorce stuff, um, when the spotlight is off of them and that feed source of the court system has been ended, they revert to baseline, which they never had a relationship with the kids to begin with. They never care about having a relationship with the kids. The kids were pawns. And once all of the hoopla with family court comes to an end, they're going to discard the kids with care providers, with their family members, with their new feed supply, whatever it is. Some of them will stop exercising their visitation or parenting time. And so, every situation is going to be so different. But I watch these things. I've had the vantage point of watching these things play out for over a decade now. And some of them are so predictable. Gigi's comment brings us back to the question. Thank you. You can't protect them from the emotional abuse. You can only temper the effect of emotional abuse and be the soft, healthy place to land for your children. Boundaries, giving your children love. That's it. And it's determining what is in our control. And we can teach our kids from behind the scenes what healthy looks like by modeling that, by talking about it. And you can do that without ever bad-mouthing the other parent or connecting the dots for them. We're talking general, educating our kids on what healthy is, what boundaries are, what red flags are, listening to their intuition, those types of things. That it's a red flag if someone crosses our boundaries, whether that's physical, emotional, psychological. So many of these children come home from the other parent's parenting time, and I describe it as they're like little pressure cookers, and they've just built up, and they unleash on us because we are that safe place to land. And it's painful. In a weird way, I tell moms that's somewhat of a blessing to know that you are the safe parent, that they have to vent that. They can't walk around carrying that in. And it's our job to help them fill their toolbox, whether that's with a therapist who is there for them to help navigate it, whether if you can't get them in therapy, maybe you go see a therapist, a child therapist, just so you can fill your toolbox and show up. There's so many things we can be doing behind the scenes, really talking about emotions and labeling our emotions. On Society6 website, they have the emotion wheel on a pillow. And I just gifted one to a mom here locally in my area because her kids are really struggling. And that may be, your peace spot, to where if you are struggling with emotions, and you can go sit on that big pillow and find what you're feeling on that wheel, identifying it, giving it a name, getting them in touch with all of that. We don't have a lot of control over what happens in the other parent's house. We can be documenting it. We can be strategic in our approach to capture it, to prove it. But emotional abuse is really, we know how hard physical abuse is to prove. And so that's a whole nother layer of trying to show emotional abuse or psychological abuse. What it comes down to many times is showing how it's affecting the kids, where they're regressing. If you can pull in neutral third parties to say, that I notice on Monday mornings when the kids come back to school after so and so's parenting time, they're really out of sorts, that type of thing. Lori, so if you go Society6 website, you can have all types of art stuff transferred onto mugs or t-shirts or pillowcases, whatever it is. So it's just Google Society6 and then a motion wheel pillow, or probably even if you just Google a motion wheel pillow, it's probably going to come up. So, and I know there's lots of great comments going on in the sidebar, so make sure you're keying into those as we're going. I've realized I don't think they show up when our live ends, which is even more reason to join us live on Friday mornings. All right, next question. What is the best strategy for communication with an ex? We have to communicate because we have children. So that brought up a thought that I had. I don't know if anybody saw the Talking Parents message that came out this week. I sent them a message, so triggering for so many of us, of you, who are still in it. But this is a total sidetrack again. The Talking Parents company sent out an email to all of their subscribers, and the subject line said, "Don't be afraid," something about communication, and it was a little ghost emoji. And it was just such poor taste to do that. And so I messaged them and said, "Hey, I've had a lot of feedback about your message, and obviously not trauma informed. So many of the people who are forced to use Talking Parents or Our Family Wizard are in a place of trauma. These, healthy couples aren't forced to use co-parenting programs like that." So that right there tells me this is a company that really needs to be trauma informed. And I didn't hear back from them. I know other people have emailed them and told them, that was in really poor taste and completely unacceptable. Do better. But back to the actual question. What is the best strategy for communication with an ex? Oh, and my husband's home this morning, so he's taking my girls to school, so I'm not on such a, I have to get out the door at 7:30 a.m. Communication. One of the things that I see so often when I'm looking on social media and people who are, claiming to be experts on narcissistic abuse, I feel like it's oversaturated right now. And the word is overused. Unfortunately, it's hard to watch. But the constant messaging is gray rock, you don't have to respond to that. And I'm just cringing because as someone who works in the family court realm and I see how that type of advice hurts people's cases, I just want to throw myself in front of them and say, "Stop, don't listen to this person. This is so wrong." Your mindset does need to be gray rock. Your communication, if you haven't heard about Yellow Rock, please look up our YouTube channels. I've written blogs on it. Yellow Rock is the mentality of gray rock, but it's presenting well for the family court system. Because if you are, what we know about gray rocking, it's to show up as we don't care, we're, non-emotional, blah, blah, blah. The way the court reads gray rock messages is that you're bitter, you're cold-hearted, you're part of the conflict possibly, you're ignoring messages that maybe there was something in there that you should have responded to. And I watch even mental health professionals who are teaching their clients, their patients about boundaries when it comes to an unhealthy person. And even some of that advice can really backfire on you in court. Family Court Corner, she's very Yellow Rock. I'll have to look that up. So, we have to keep in mind that the court doesn't know you and they don't know the other party, and they're forming a picture of each of you individually and the situation as a whole based on what is being put in front of them. So, opposing counsel has a field day with Grey Rock communication, because they're trying to paint you. I always say, if I can read your communication and know that you don't like the other person, you have a problem. You need to go back to the drawing board, because when the judge is reading that communication and determines that you don't like this other person, you're portrayed in a bad light, because whether it's right or not, it's definitely not fair. But the court still expects you to put the past behind you and focus on co-parenting. They have not caught up with research, and what we know is that an abuser to their spouse is not a healthy person to be around children in general. I don't think an abuser has any place in a child's life. But unfortunately, my opinion and the court's opinion don't line up. And so until the court catches up with the knowledge, the research, trainings, you're stuck. That's radical acceptance again, where you are on deck to show up and portray yourself to be the healthy co-parent that you are. Anything less, you're giving that other person too much power, because you are writing to them. When I write my messages to my ex-husband, it was to the judge, and he just happened to be CC'd on those messages. That was my mental mindset whenever I communicated with him. And that worked very well for me in court, because I was able to show the court who I was outside of him. And so I do have an online course on strategic communication if you want to understand more on this topic. You can just go to the One Mom's Battle website, click online courses. You can use the discount code OMB, thank you, all together, all three words together, and you'll get 20% off on that. So yeah, that is my little nutshell advice, or what I can offer up on that. How much weight does a court-ordered therapist hold? That's a hard question. I saw it this morning and I'm like, oh. So 10 different people could come with that exact question, and I would have 10 different opinions on that topic based on their local court system, what the court order says, in terms of, is this therapist on deck to testify if it's court ordered? My guess is yes. But a lot of therapists, even when they are court ordered, they don't want to go sit on the stand. That's not what they want to do. And so they will have people sign a release saying that what happens there stays there, just like Las Vegas. But not as exciting, and that they cannot be called to testify. And so there's so many variables that go into these situations. And some of us are absolutely forced to go to court-ordered therapy or court-ordered mediation. And so my mindset in those situations is very much along the lines of, it's a box to check off. I need to show up. I need to show who I am. I need to not, if he knows it has an effect on me, he or she is going to ask for 10 more court-ordered co-parenting sessions. My goal would be to sit there, to do my part, to participate, and there's a lot of prep that goes into that. I would probably go do EMDR to desensitize me so that I could do that. And again, every situation is different. If you have a significant history of proven abuse and the court has recognized that, you might be in a different position than most when it comes to, your requests, or talking to the therapist in advance about the history of abuse and how you do, that this is a very unnerving, traumatizing situation, and that you need their help. And what I do want to say is, a lot of these professionals get a really bad rap, and it's so easy for us to lump them all into the same category. But there are good ones out there. I just heard of two, with my clients yesterday. I just heard of two, a judge and a co-parenting therapist, who are just rocking it out there. And they are child focused and child centric. So it really comes down to who the players are. Gigi says therapists are also limited on what they can state on the stand, and it often isn't the smoking gun one would hope for. That's so key right there. Therapists are for therapy and healing, not evidence. We need to quote that, because that was very much the approach I took. If we're talking about like therapy for my kids during the height of our battle, most people go into that type of situation trying to prove to the therapist how bad the other party is. That was never my approach. My approach was, I just want my kids to have a safe place to talk about whatever is going on in their life, whether that be somebody who stole something out of their lunchbox on the playground, or me. I will never claim to be a perfect parent, or my ex-husband. And so all of those things, that was what I led with, was I just want them to have a voice, an advocate, for whatever is going on in their lives. I'm not here to try to prove that I'm the best parent or he's the most horrible parent. That's not my goal. And I'm not asking you to take sides. That's just, my goal in getting my kids in therapy was never to get them to testify. I would never ask that of them. So I'm glad you articulated that, because it's such an important point, and it's an area that I see people really get tripped up. So back to the question, that's a hard one to answer. I would want to know, and bring it to the Facebook page on One Mom's Battle. If you can offer up more details on that, send it to us in the private messages, and we can post that anonymously for you. And maybe those of us who have experience in it can chime in and offer up some more. The final thing I want to say today before we close is we are doing something for Family Court Awareness Month, and I think it's going to be really powerful, but we need your help. And it's #MyFamilyCourtStory. You can go to the One Mom's Battle Instagram page to see the graphic in the full details we just posted last night. But what we're going to do, I'm going to do like an intro video talking about, the problem we have on our hands at a community level. My audience is going to be those in our communities. And so we're asking people to submit a voice recording. You can do it on your phone and email it in to us. There's also a link to WeTransfer. If you did it by video, we're only going to use the voice portion, but you're limited on how long you can talk. And there are prompts available on the Instagram graphic. So one example would be, my court case started in 2009. I went through 2 full custody evaluations, minors counsel, dozens and dozens of court dates. No one would believe my story. At year 6, everything I had ever said was validated. And that's great. But that 6 years that they refused to believe my story and believe survivors, in that 6 years, my kids have had trauma that will last them a lifetime. And to say that we're one of the lucky ones is mind-blowing. This is a problem that belongs to all of us. And so trying to sum it up. Or, one of the comments yesterday was about how much money had been spent on attorney fees on this court process. And they're no closer to the end that they were when they started, and really nothing's been accomplished. So that type of thing. And don't put in any identifying details. We're protecting privacy, but we would love to play these clips through the video, and then we'll be sharing that during the month of November. So please, please participate in that. Your voice clip can be sent to admin at onemomsbattle.com. ADMIN, admin at onemomsbattle.com. I believe we set it at 30 seconds or 45 seconds. I should know this. I don't, but we're trying to keep them really concise. So write out what you're going to say and then speak it into your recorder and send it to us, because we would love to share your family court story. So, all right, everyone, take care, and thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to sign up for the UCI event. I will be there.